All right, guys, Jeff Sentell here. You know where this is. This is Sanford Stadium. This is Dooley Field. We got a special edition of Before the Hedges. We're going to have to call this After the Hedges because he and I were talking just before we started. This really feels like full circle. I was going through my notes, Sedrick, and the first time I spoke to you was, September of 2018.
Okay.
That was 6 years ago, man.
That's wild.
You didn't have any of this, right?
No, I did not.
I guess I would just want to start with one thing, and I know you're very humble. You've always been very humble, but it's kind of my job, like everybody says it, we'll let, Kirby even says it, we'll let you guys in the media decide this and this and that. Sedrick, I know you know the history of this program. You started 44 games for Georgia. Your team, in a very vital position, won 42 out of those 44 games. In the history of Georgia football, there's only been one person that was a line of scrimmage every down player that started in that many victories, and that was David Green. David Green was 42 and I believe 12. He played all 4 years. You obviously had 3 really amazing seasons. The only player that has started for Georgia and been a part of more wins are guys like Jake Cromartie, kickers, punters, stuff like that. You're not very easily swayed. You're very much a focused guy. When someone tells you like that on this field, at a high attrition position, nobody has been in more victories than you were at the University of Georgia, and then you've also a part of 2 national championships. What goes through your mind when you hear something like that?
Well, I think that's a really cool moment, but that wouldn't be possible without my teammates, the guys that really make that engine go. I can think back even to that 2021 season. Everybody had to play a part, between, JT and then Stetson, and then we had so many injuries and things like that. So everybody played a part in that. I'm just glad that I was able to play my role to help achieve that. But that's a really, really cool stat, though.
Sedrick, I'm sure you have many moments. You've probably been answered this question a lot, but a lot of times reporters get you after games or on the podium, and you're not a reflective dude. You're very much a go-ahead type dude.
Yeah. When
you think of your Georgia career, are there 1 or 2 on the field, off the field moments that you think you'll always remember?
I guess I'll keep this positive because I can definitely remember all of the losses that we've had, and I know that may seem odd, but
both of them.
Yeah, that's
just two.
Those are the ones that I remember the most. But if I had to say just on or off the field moments, I can honestly say just the camaraderie that we had in that 2021 season, the level of care that everybody had for each other, spending as much time as possible. Even going into the 2022 season, I can think about the offensive line room. There wasn't a moment that we weren't together, and those are really, really special moments to me. We had a lot of fun, worked really, really hard together, going to church on Sundays and then getting up and working out and just really kind of figuring out life together. It was definitely an interesting time for us. So maybe that, if I had to say anything else, I would say 2021, we were like deep into the summer workouts, and Coach Sinclair and Coach Smart were getting after us pretty good. We were going into like a hard workout, a team run, and we ended up going to the pool that day. So that was definitely a fun day for us.
That's cool. It's a lineman's answer. That's definitely a lineman's answer. When you're supposed to do something and then they switch it up on you.
We were going through it, so it was definitely a relief for everybody.
Sedrick, you're about to be drafted. Is there, I remember asking high school kids this, like, what's the piece of film, what's the game that says, because football, the film's your DNA.
Yes, sir.
That eye in the sky does not lie. For you, what do you think you always said this term to me, that you want to be the best version of yourself.
Yes, sir.
What's the best version of Sedrick Van Pran-Granger on the field? Did you have one of those moments where you were in fuego? Like, if you had to grade out yourself, what was your best game?
That's tough. If I had to choose maybe just this season, maybe Auburn or Florida. I feel like I played some solid football in those games, so maybe those.
Sedrick, I'm going to go through a couple things here. This is going to be a little bit like this is your dog life.
Okay.
This is your time as a dog.
Okay. We're
not going to have old coaches coming out, but this is what you said when you committed.
Okay.
You don't think about this stuff, but it's a reporter-writers type thing to do here. My message to the fans is that I plan on giving you guys a great 3 to 4 years. I'm not going to say I want to change the culture in Athens, but to enhance the culture, to get kind of things going in my own way. I'm the type of guy, when I'm at a school, that I really build a love for a school and I become attached. So definitely I will be all Georgia football, and I can't wait.
Sounds about right.
Job done?
I think I did a pretty decent job. Did a pretty decent job of doing that. So that's crazy though that I said that, what, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
That's insane, but I guess I kept true to my word.
Kendall in your class always had the term natties. And he said, I mean, not one. You know, like I think he said top 2, and I'm not talking 2. He also said that. He had a lot of them.
He says a lot of things. He's an interesting guy.
If I'd have told you commitment day, or even like I remember you told me when you committed that seeing Kirby Smart on the slip and slide, you planned on waiting a lot later, but then you're just like, man, you talk to your dad and you're like, let me go ahead and do this thing. Like for you, what would you tell 18-year-old SVPG that, hey, you're going to win 2 national championships in college? What would go through your mind?
I think the biggest thing I probably would tell myself at 18 is just that you are going to experience a lot of ups and downs in college. You are going to experience the highest of highs, national championships. You're going to experience the lowest of lows, you know, when it comes to working hard, dark times, when you may not feel like it. The biggest thing that I would tell myself, though, is that never lose who you are, never lose your purpose, and stay connected to God. That's been something that I feel like has held me down throughout my process here. It's just building a connection with the man above and working hard. So, you know, through those things, I'm very fortunate that God has allowed me to, you know, be in this position.
Amen to that. Sedrick, you've told me before you're not really proud of this moment. This is when young, firebrand Sedrick, but that really, when I saw you, and you gave me a great answer inside your Georgia career, but we're going to look at this piece of video right here. But this is the time, I believe it was your 2nd year at Easton, and the Fighting Eagles with the boxing gloves on their helmet. You didn't win. You didn't.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think 2 years in a row where you had a high school championship snatched away from you, and you were in the moment. I think you guys went for 2 to win, and you didn't get it. And you're literally like pound in the field. Now you're probably like not my proudest moment there, but to me, as a guy that studies high school players all my life, and recruits and prospects all my life, that showed me a lot. That showed me that you want 85 like this guy on the team. That it, you know, I've always felt that find you the guys that hate to lose more than they want to win. 100%. And tell me about that moment first, because I have a follow-up question to that. But do you remember that moment? And when you look back on it now, what goes through your mind?
So in that moment, that was a lot. So I'd never beat that school in high school. So 4 years, sometimes I played them once, sometimes I played them twice, because they were all crosstown rivals in the car. And we lost to them a lot. And that was kind of my final chance my senior year to be able to beat them for a national championship. So to lose ball 1, it was definitely tough for me, because not only did we lose in the state championship, which we wanted so bad, but we lost to them. That's what made it worse for me. And kind of in that moment, I guess it just all flashed for me like, you won't get this opportunity again, and you blew it, right? So I think that something I've always done internally is that I've always taken blame for losses and things like that, which is why I told you I more so remember the losses here, because as a leader of the team, I feel like I take responsibility for that. So that's definitely what I remember from that moment. But looking back on it, if I could say anything, I think it just speaks to the level of passion I play football with, and definitely still sorry for showing that, because that's not something that, you know, you should necessarily show. I definitely could have handled that situation better, but in all honesty, that's just kind of the passion I play with. And I think my teammates and coaches that have been here for the past 4 years will tell you, I'm not one to, you know, hold my tongue or hide my emotions when it comes to winning.
I think you were named a captain of your high school team when you were a sophomore.
Yes, sir.
In the playoffs, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Very rare for that to happen at Easton, I imagine. And I think there's a great contrast there between your high school career, no championships, no rings.
Yes, sir.
And then your college career, rings. I remember when you finally broke through at Georgia, and folks, this is the quintessential Sedrick Van Pran thing. And I knew your backstory, and I was like, you know, hey, let me ask a really cool, I know the story reporter question. And I said, you finally got one. And you finally get to hold the ring after there's no pounding on the ground anymore. And you just do Sedrick Van Pran to a T. You go, man, I wasn't even thinking about me. I was thinking about getting a natty for Jamari, getting a natty for Zamir, getting a natty for James. Where does that come from, man? I mean, that's just you, right?
I think so. I think that God has placed something very unique in me that I feel like my entire life I've always looked to help and look out for others. But also, if I'm being honest, I can attest some of that to my high school. I think they started to instill something in us, I would say probably towards the end of my freshman year, early sophomore year, where nothing was more important than Eastern football. What you did, it was the culture, it was everything. It was your life, because I always tell people, you know, football is not a fall sport, it's a year-round sport. You're always training for it, and then you get the fall to actually go out there and compete with it. But it's something that you compete for and train for all year. So it was our life, it was everything. And the biggest thing that we always talked about there was you give up yourself, not only for the team, but those seniors, those guys who have done everything and put all the work in that you were able to inherit. And that was something that I took very personal here, because I felt like Jamari, you know, James Cook, Kieris, you know, all of those guys, I feel like they had put in the work before me, and they had experienced so many different losses and heartbreaking moments that the least I could do was do all that I could to make sure that they achieved the ultimate goal of winning.
Your faith is very important to you.
Yes, sir.
Is it almost one of those things where, like, you know, God has a plan where, like, you needed to go through that in order to be able to cherish what happened for you in college?
I think looking back on it, yes. It's so funny you asked that, because it was so important to me to win a state championship in high school. And I remember why this happened, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I think the college football playoff came to Easton like my sophomore or junior year, and the national championship trophy was on display. And I remember passing by it, like, in between classes, or we got to see it somehow. And I remember we got to take pictures and stuff, and I remember I told myself, like, I'll have one of those one days. And God willing, it ended up coming true, but it was definitely a full circle moment for me that it was like, man, like, it almost felt like God was rewarding me for the hard work that I had been putting in for years to be able to experience that.
Cedric, you mentioned in one of your earlier responses that college is about highs and lows. Athletics is about highs and lows. And I don't know if it would be possible for you to say which championship was sweeter. Probably would be like saying which one of your kids you're going to love more. But I definitely probably understand what might be the lowest part of your Georgia career, and that's the really tough loss of Dev.
100%.
You have so many rituals before a game. You began to write his initials on some of your gear and some of your spat, I guess, and some of your wrists. I just want people to know, when you think of Dev, what goes through your mind? Is he always going to be a part of your football life?
Yeah, 100%. Devin was a brother. That was somebody that we came in together. We weren't roommates, but, you know, we definitely, you know, carpooled and, you know, went and got food together our freshman year, and, you know, we hung out and, you know, stuff like that throughout the years until his passing. Still have a great relationship with his mother, and, you know, try to reach out to the family whenever I can. But when I think of Devin, I think of joy and happiness. The biggest thing that I can say about Dev, he hardly ever got seriously mad. I think as people, we always can be annoyed, but to be seriously mad and, you know, kind of lose yourself, Devin wasn't that type of guy. He was definitely very calm, cool, collected, very goofy guy. You know, he loved to have fun and be around his boys. So that's kind of what I think of when I think of Dev. So I want to keep his legacy going.
Can you talk about can you discuss, because I know the story, but I know folks here don't know the story. Your pregame ritual at Georgia, you would put a certain script on one of your armbands. Yes, sir. And that meant something to you and your family. Were there any other things that you did before a game? Are you a creature of superstition on game day like some football players are?
Yeah, I'm 100%. So Coach Smart is the same way. He likes to keep the same schedule, and I'm very similar. I don't like switching things up, and the reason why is because that's kind of how I live my everyday life. Like, I like routine. I don't like spontaneity. I don't like to just kind of wing things. I love to prepare. I love to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward, because I feel like if things go wrong and you don't do those things, now you have a bunch of different things you can kind of point at. Well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I don't like those feelings. I like going forward knowing that I did everything that I possibly could. So as far as my pregame ritual.
Are those songs and something like that you gotta listen to?
Usually I'm listening to gospel on the way to the stadium. I'm trying to calm my spirit. I will say I am not, all the way into my faith yet where I have completely just only listened to gospel music. I can admit that as a Christian, but usually I'm listening to gospel on the way to the stadium, kind of calm myself and, just talk to God and kind of understand why am I doing what I'm doing. And then from that point forward, it kind of switches for me after I kind of calm down. I'm no longer Sedrick. I kind of view myself as a different person. And I kind of got to start getting into a whole different mindset. So it's kind of that, listening to different music and trying to, I guess, set my mind for war, essentially. And then from that point, I'm usually writing, on my wrist tape. Typically, I believe on my left arm, it was always Dev. And there was usually a cross, I believe. Nah, actually, it may have been Dev and my grandmother. And then I think on this arm, it was the cross. And then I had the scripture that my girlfriend would send me before every game, just kind of like a devotional type deal, just before the game to kind of set my mind. So the order of it may be wrong on each wrist, but those were the 4 things that I kept on my wrist.
Sedrick, just look back, right here. What goes through your mind? Is there anything? Is that just a football field to you, or is that, were you bled? Like, what is that about for you?
I can think of so many different moments. I can think of scrimmages over there close to the actual stadium seats where young Tate Ratledge and I took pictures going into our redshirt freshman, sophomore year before he ends up getting hurt, unfortunately, taking pictures with our family and stuff. I can think of on the opposite 20, praying before every game, giving glory to God. I can think of running out through this end zone on senior night, talking to Coach Smart. I can think of being on this side, with Devin on G-Day on the black jerseys. It's so many different things I kind of can remember. I can think of around the G, team runs, in the January, winter, with it being cold in the stadium. It's so many things that we've kind of been through here and so many memories.
Is it more emotional the first time you run out knowing you're going to start, or is it more emotional the last time you run out knowing that?
The last one.
Why?
I think the first one is more nerve-wracking. It's more like, man, like, I don't want to be the guy that messes up. I don't want to be the guy in front of 90,000 people to ruin their day. I don't want to be the guy to let down my 100 teammates on the sideline who've worked all week for this, really all year. But I think that was more so the first time, and I think as your last start, you start to realize that it's time to transition. It's time to move on into a different world, a new profession. And it's definitely a weird feeling, but ultimately very, very grateful for sure.
Sedrick, I want you to check and look at this video here. And this is Florida State game. And I had to go back through my archives to find it, but he hasn't seen this before, guys.
No, I haven't.
So I want you to watch and kind of tell me what's going through your mind right now. That's you and Kirby. And Tate.
Yeah, all the guys.
I think Brock Bowers comes up a little bit later, and then you're with Kendall and all those guys.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, what is your football coach, does he tell you something there that's really quick because he's got a football game to coach? Like, what's that moment like with Kirby Smart? Did he ever have that, attaboy son, played your tail off for you, I'll never forget you? Did you guys ever have that moment after your last game?
So I can remember a few things being said, and I can't remember if it was said on the sideline or in the locker room. But one of the few things I will remember, I remember senior night, he told me that I was his captain. I was the guy that he had a lot of love for because I had given so much to the program. And then I remember leaving the Florida State game or on the sideline, one of the two. He was basically telling me he was so proud of me and he really appreciated everything that I did for the program. And if there was anything that I ever needed, you know, he would always be there for me. But essentially, he was just saying how proud of me he was for seeing things through and doing it the right way.
One of the goals you had when we wrote a bunch of stories of you when you were on your way to Georgia. Probably my one regret is I didn't get to talk to you every day like all the other beat writers did, but I'm a recruiting guy here. Yeah. But you always said your goal was captain.
Yes, sir.
You said, hopefully I can be a captain one day. Hopefully I can do the things and go through the ropes and walk the walk where they will trust me and believe in me to be a captain. Like, that's a special word for you. How would you define what it means to be a captain of a national championship team at the University of Georgia? What does it mean to you?
I think it means the world to me, and the reason being is because our teammates vote on our captains. It's not something that's chosen by Coach Smart or anyone else. It's your peers, and that means so much to me because those guys respect me enough that they chose me as their leader. They chose me as the guy that they put their trust into. So it means the world to me that I was selected with that honor. Very different in high school where coaches choose you and you kind of get that just from being, the right person, doing the right things. And I think college is a little bit more. It's a combination of being the right guy, having relationships with people, being trustworthy, all of those different things. I think being a captain in college, chosen by your peers, is a little bit more of on and off the field. So it means the world to me that those guys chose me as their leader, especially when there was some success behind it.
Sedrick, I think if you ask most Dog fans that fill up this stadium who the greatest Dog was of all time, some of the older heads would always say Herschel.
Yeah.
Some of the newer heads would probably say Brock, or might even say Stetson.
Yeah.
You played with both of those guys. Can you let us in on a little bit about how you view those guys and why they were so successful for Georgia? You saw them intimately, you bled with them, you went up and down steps with them. Like, why were those guys so successful here for this program?
I think a common trait that both of them had was their love for football and how hard they worked. So I think they worked hard in two different ways, but they both loved football enough that they were willing to spend a lot of time and give a lot of effort into it. So I think with Stetson, his love came more so with studying the game, watching film, picking apart different defenses that we had to play that week, or watching quarterbacks on the next level and what he can take from them. I can remember there were times where I was in the offensive line room by myself watching film at 11 o'clock, and I'm 11 p.m. at night, and I'm sending Stetson, videos. Hey, what do you want to do on this? What are you thinking? And he just walks in the room like, oh, nah, bro, I'm in the other room watching film too. So just the love that he has for the game and just to study it, I think that speaks. But then when you talk about Brock, I think that his love shows more in the physical. He's always first in conditioning. He's always looking to do the right thing. He's always trying to get extra. He's always here trying to figure out the best way to be himself. So I think they both love the game. I think they went about working hard in different ways, but I think they both were very effective. So I think the common trait that they both share is that they love football and then they were willing to work hard at it.
I think lastly, Sedrick, that number 63 jersey is also going to be very special to a lot of Dog fans. Like, how do you hope you're remembered? I mean, I can see you, although it's maybe not your way, to come down here in a few years and call the Dogs. Like, you've seen other guys do that.
Yes, sir.
How do you hope Dog Nation and this fan base that has just welcomed you with open arms, how do you hope they remember you?
Well, I'll say this, to the state of Georgia, to Athens, Clark County, to the University of Georgia, I really just want to say I really appreciate everything you have done for me. You have welcomed the kid from New Orleans, Louisiana with open arms. I know there's some division sometimes between New Orleans and Atlanta, or Louisiana and Georgia, because of the Saints and Falcons. But nonetheless, you all welcomed me with open arms. You integrated me into your community. You welcomed my family. So I really, really do appreciate you, and you have changed my life forever. And I owe you all a lot, and I'm so, so grateful for that. So right now, all I can give you is a thank you, but when I have a chance to give back, I absolutely plan on doing it.
Guys, that's Sedrick Van Pran-Granger. It always sounds like he rehearsed everything. It comes from his heart.
I wish.
We talked about Brock, we talked about Stetson, but this guy right here deserves to be in that category as well. I told him I was going to give him some flowers today in terms of giving credit where credit is due. Sedrick Van Pran-Granger, it's been my pleasure to cover you. No one, and let's repeat this, nobody that played every down at the University of Georgia has ever been a part of more victories for this great university.
I appreciate that. It's been a pleasure knowing you.
Take it easy, Sedrick.
Yes, sir.